Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Gina Smarecki. I'm the events manager at Newspire, and I'll be your host for this live session. The concept for today's webinar really sprung from wanting to recognize and celebrate International Women's Day, which was earlier this month, and that led into a conversation about the topic of cybersecurity talent shortage. We're really excited to share proven strategies with you today, whether you're hiring or looking for a job in the industry. If you have questions for today's presenters, just click on the questions tab on the right side of your screen, and what we'll do is collect those and address them at the end. At this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our speakers today, Michelle Bank, Carrie Gunning, and Carrie Rose. Michelle is the Chief Product and Marketing Officer at Newspire. She leads the overall success of Newspire's product roadmap, marketing program, and growth with over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity and technology. Carrie Gunning oversees client-solved security talent acquisition. She's a seasoned, trusted advisor to security executives globally on best practices for hiring, recruitment, retention, employee relations, and job market trends. Since 2017, Carrie has served as a board member for the Denver ISSA and Women in Security. She also hosts monthly roundtable and networking events for security professionals across Colorado and Washington. Carrie Rose is a senior manager of information security governance, risk, and compliance at Dish Network. She has 10 years of experience in the industry and has designed and implemented various GRC capabilities, developed many tools and processes to support team and company goals, and built diverse teams. Carrie is an active member of ISACA, Women in Cybersecurity, and ISSA. But before I turn it over, we wanted to say a special thanks for being here, specifically because each one of you is helping us to support women in cybersecurity. Newspire will be donating to the ISSA Education Foundation as a part of our commitment to promoting gender diversity. And now I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you, Gina. It's great to be here. What we're going to be doing today, whether you're hiring somebody or you're looking to change careers and you're looking to get into cybersecurity, we're going to be focused on like the current state of cybersecurity and why it's so incredibly important to look at a diverse talent pool. We're going to talk from an expert from a recruitment standpoint, Carrie Gunning, and tips from her perspective, as well as tips from a hiring manager, Carrie Rose. And then we're going to go through, last but not least, we don't want to leave you without anything. So we're going to give you some excellent resources as well if you're looking to hire or you're looking to get into cybersecurity. So before we get started, we thought we would do a poll so we could gear the conversation. So if you look at the bottom of your screen in the bottom right, you'll see a button that says polls. So click on that. And once you get in there, we would like to understand what your current situation is. Are you looking to hire, improve employee retention, seeking a job, or growing your cybersecurity career? So if you could click on that, I'm going to give everybody about a few seconds to get there so they don't miss any of the other good items that we have. And then once you put your score in there, we'll be able to kind of guide our conversation with you. I feel like we should have some music. All right. So I'm going to keep moving. If you still want to fill it out and you haven't gotten there yet, feel free to go in at any point in time to complete that poll. So why do we need to look for ways to solve the talent gap? So first of all, when we talk about the threat landscape and what's happening as the bad guys, 68% increase in data breaches over 2020. So significant growth from our threat actors. $4.24 million in average breach cost. It's the highest in 17 years. And 10% of the breaches involve some kind of ransomware, which has also doubled since 2020. It's an annual cost of crime of $10.5 trillion, which is significant. So as an industry, we have to keep up with that. So what are we going to do? The market growth is 120%. There's 2.7 million unfilled positions globally. 350% cybersecurity jobs have increased since 2013, and almost 600,000 job openings just in the US. The gender diversity is, and again, this is in honor of Women in Tech Month, we're looking to address, is looking at the number of women that hold jobs here. And I will say this webinar applies to any gender. We're focused on this one because of the particular month, but there's 24% of the women hold cybersecurity jobs globally. When you think of the perspective of women represent 50% of the population, but 24% hold cybersecurity jobs globally, and only 11% in women leadership roles. So we want to see a lot more within cybersecurity. Why is there a shortage? Why do we see this trend? The increasing threats, as I mentioned, there's more devices and more opportunities for those threats to occur, additional skills that are needed as there's new technology that evolves, as threat actors become more sophisticated. There's additional skill set that's needed on the cybersecurity side to keep up with that. The job ratio is significant, as I mentioned, 350% increase in jobs. And according to Gartner, 37% of organizations are not finding the required skills or competencies that they're looking for. 26% of organizations are struggling to hire because their candidates are lacking certain certifications. So we really want to focus on what we can do to help people either find a job in cybersecurity or look for additional talent. So I'm going to move to the next slide, which is around tips, and turn this over to Carrie Gunning to talk a little bit about from her perspective.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for letting me be a part of this panel. It's such an exciting time to be in cybersecurity. I have, like you mentioned, more openings than I ever have in my 15 years. And partnering with hiring managers, the one thing I would say, the common thing I keep hearing is they're open to accepting candidates that don't have a security background. So it's just a really great time to be joining. Carrie Rose, which I'm excited to be on the panel with, she's a perfect example. She came from a financial background and now is a senior manager at a huge enterprise dish and leading a GRC team. And when you look at her team, it's probably the most diverse. She's hired people that don't have security backgrounds. They come from legal or finance, or coming out of like a secure set or boot camp. So it's just a really great time to be a part of that. And I know applying online can seem frustrating or like depleting. So my tip would be is come up with like a target list of like companies you want to work at, or verticals or industries, and then look within your network of who knows a hiring manager to get your resume in front of them. Be proactive, because sometimes the stuff that hiring managers are getting is, if you don't have the security background, you're utilizing your network. And I would say get out there and just start networking. ISSA, which we talked about, has so many great monthly events of chapter happy hours. We're hosting a job fair in April. So it's just a great time to be a part of security and just jump in.
Carrie, are there certain jobs where it's required to have a cybersecurity background? And then what kind of jobs are available for those that might not have that security background that you're seeing?
I think companies are hiring more for the soft skills, like if you have the passion and the drive and you're willing to learn. And like Newspire is a perfect example. Dish is also another perfect example. Newspire, we just hired 5 analysts that had no security background, but they're willing to train and bring them up to speed to be SOC analysts. You look at Carrie Rose's team, they didn't have the security background. They had a career background and the soft skills, and she's willing to train and mentor. So I would say, if you're interested, it's not about having the security experience.
That's great. And then kind of talking about the job interviewing process, what do you suggest for those preparing for a job interview?
Outside of the obvious that we all have interviewed for jobs, dress to impress, have your questions ready. But like my go-to is the STAR, where you talk about clearly state situations, tasks, actions, and then your results. But mostly be, prepared, research the company, research the hiring manager. I also encourage candidates to have their references proactively call the hiring manager and put in good words and utilize your network.
That's a great tip. And Carrie Rose, you do a lot of hiring. Do you have recommendations of what you've seen actually works in the interviewing process?
I think there's probably things I would tell you not to do more so than things that you should do. So some of the things for me that I look for, don't, as tempting as it is, don't copy paste from other people's LinkedIn profiles. You'd be surprised how many people in security will go out and they'll research that role and find people in it and say, oh, well, I can do that, and copy paste it in there. Most of us, when we're hiring, we're looking for very specific skills. And so if that comes across on your resume and then you can't back it up with experience, that's the biggest thing. Most security jobs, you have to have a really strong moral compass. And so doing things like plagiarizing is like the quickest way to take yourself out of that. And then security is a pretty small community. Not to say we all sit around and talk about people and candidates, but we do come together in some of Carrie's events specifically and talk about what kind of candidates we're seeing, who we're looking for. We get a lot of recommendations from people that are already in the field. So networking, I would say, is probably the biggest thing. For me, is really, building your own brand and being proud of your brand. That's the biggest thing that I see in a successful candidate.
And shifting gears a little bit, you're a hiring manager. What are some of the things that what makes you successful, or what are some tips that you have?
Sure. So I'll add to kind of what I just gave as far as for a candidate. Those are things that I look for. But to Carrie's point, I am first and foremost a mentor. I recognize that there's not a lot of females in the industry, and there's a lot of female candidates, or at least I'm seeing more and more female candidates, which is really great. But we tend to connect really quick over just the small talk, right? Get to know them first and foremost as a person. We all have family lives. Security can be very taxing. There's ebbs and flows, right? There's weeks where you're going to have to pull 40, 50, 60-hour weeks. And then there's weeks that, it's not as crazy. And so take that time off. And for me, my success, not only just in hiring, but in retaining top talent across my team is really health and family first is kind of my motto. It's kind of catching on. I'm seeing more and more people use that as a thing because work will always be there. And then I also mentor first, right? Mentor, teach. But I also surround myself with people that don't have the same backgrounds as me. Carrie mentioned I came from finance. A lot of my team does not come from finance because I want that diverse perspective to security. Like all of us have seen different things from different industries, different regulations. It's really important to build that base and make sure your team is constantly learning. So those would be the big things. If you don't have a candidate that's willing to learn or that comes in and feels like they know everything, that's probably a big red flag that they're not going to be a team player. And they probably aren't the right fit for at least my team.
Awesome. And Carrie Gunning, as a recruiter, what tips do you have for hiring managers?
Well, I would say one thing I'm noticing a new trend is 80% of jobs are not being posted. So utilizing your network, but for hiring managers is they're out there networking, they're pulling from their network, they're utilizing that to hire top talent that's trusted, more on that than experience. And I would also say speed to market. This market is there's so many jobs. It's a candidate's market. So when you are interviewing a candidate and you like them, extend offers fast, follow through as fast.
Those are great tips. One of the other things, as you know, in lieu of that and how crazy this market is, it's really hard to find actual cybersecurity talent. So Carrie Rose, you had spoken about this a little bit when we were preparing for this webinar. Where do you find your great candidates?
So I think it really depends on, people say, well, I want to get into security. And when you say that, that is extremely broad. That's like saying I want to be a doctor. There are specific focus areas within security. You have very technical roles, right? You've got, the threat hunters, and then you've got security architecture that really looks at it holistically from a system connection thing. I manage governance, risk, and compliance, and I get kind of yelled at for saying this, but it is kind of a non-technical role. We have to understand the technical side, but we're not hands-on keyboards performing security functions. So it really depends on which layer of security you really want to be a participant from. So for me, I hire where there's highly regulated fields. So things that the healthcare, financial services, generally because I'm focused on compliance and meeting those regulatory requirements. Whereas you might have some, SOC or threat hunters coming from government or military. So it really depends on specifically where that candidate needs to sit within the security framework.
That's great. And you have such a strong team. How are you getting your best candidates? Give us some details.
Sure. My details are connect with Carrie.
That's a plug.
it's a plug. I mean, she does find me most of my candidates. I do have some other resources, but as I mentioned, most of my jobs I can keep at entry level. Now, if I look across my team, right now I've got 11. We call them butts and seats, but yeah, I've got plenty of openings as well, just because we're growing super fast. But 7 of the 11 people on my team are female, and there's just an energy around my team that they just are super excited to be there. And it's because I'm giving them what they're looking for. Most of the time I'll recommend to my team when they come to me and they're like, well, I'm thinking about, maybe doing this thing instead of what I'm doing today. And I said, absolutely, go learn it, go do it. The more, especially in security, you were talking on earlier slides where, we just don't have the skill sets or the experience. We call them unicorns, right? We're all hiring managers are kind of looking for that unicorn that can come in and do it all. Jack of all trades. I hate that term, but you hear that a lot as well. And so the more you can try on different roles, the stronger security professional you're going to be in the end. So whether that's, just through formal job shadowing or certifications, or, I've even had some people where I just mentor them, they have a problem, they come to me. But it's real interesting to see, the people that kind of sit in a function and are there for 10 years. That's kind of all they're really capable of. Whereas I really strongly urge everybody to go out there and try a little bit of everything. It makes you a stronger candidate if you choose to go somewhere else because you've got experience in it all. So don't sit still. Security is evolving. You should be evolving as well. And you never know what you're going to find that gets you excited and passionate about your work.
Absolutely.
Well, those are great tips. I'm going to move to a little bit more around, if we're looking for talent, what are the things that a company can do or people can do to support bringing in and looking at women or any minority into a cybersecurity company? One of the things that I always like is the mentorship program and focused on, and this goes both ways. So either having a mentorship program formally or informally, as well as if you are part of it as a mentee, to make sure that you have distinctive goals that you want to achieve. And you're not just in the, asking for a mentor without really having anything specific that you want to get out of it. So make sure that there is something that you want to do. And then be open to tech jobs, but there's also the business side. So there's the technical jobs, but then there's also every company has a finance department. So if you're looking to get in the door, there are potentially opportunities on the business side as well. And then once you're in the door, one of the recommendations I would have is do a good job no matter what. Give it a try, because even if it's not where you're going to land in your final stop of your career, it's a pathway forward, and people know that you can build your reputation and do a good job. I just wanted to add that before we kind of go through this slide. Carrie Gunning, do you have things that you want to add?
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think security is such a great way to come in. I look at a lot of like VPs and executives now that are in IT. They came in through the security department. I think it's such an exciting time to be in cybersecurity, and there's so much opportunity because you see a job description that says you need this many years of security. Don't let that hold you back. Like, apply and utilize like the ISSAs of the world, the meetups and recruiters like me or internal recruiters to help let you get in the door. It's just an exciting time.
That's great. And what about you, Carrie Rose? Any other tips?
I'd say surround yourself with people that are kind of in the same boat as you. I think, being a female in a very male heavy career path or even department function of the company, whatever you want to call it, when you feel like you're alone, then you need to go seek out other people. You're not. There's a ton of us women, and you saw the numbers on the first screen. It's important to know that you can go to other women and they've kind of got your back and they're going to build you up. And, I've been in some tough situations. I get it. And it can be very paralyzing in your career, and you tend to question whether or not it's the right spot for you. So just keep going. Find that power source. It may be in a single person, but you may have to reach out to groups like ISSA and go to some networking events just to, I don't know, kind of let it out there.
Absolutely.
And learn that you're not alone. So that's kind of my encouraging thing to females. And I know men can kind of feel the same. I mean, I recognize that it's not always a gender thing. But yeah, the second you feel alone, that's when you start questioning yourself. And we are all here because we love security. So let's get her done.
Totally agree. So before we go to a little bit of Q&A, I know Carrie Gunning, it'd be great for you since you're so involved in the ISSA, to give everybody an overview.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about ISSA. We are the largest chapter nationally and internationally with almost 800 members. We do chapter meetings in 3 locations. Well, before COVID, now we're just in 1 location. We'll probably go back to that, but it's a great place to go get if you don't know anything about security and you're passionate about it, it's a great way to go have a lunch and learn more about it. If you have certifications, you can get your CPEs there. We do happy hours, which is more catered towards people looking to break into security or are in transition, looking for their next job. It's just a great networking event. We're hosting, we did for Dish, and Carrie was great at it. We do job fairs where you get to come and meet the hiring managers and kind of get bypassed through that first, applying online. It's a face-to-face. We're holding another one on April 21st at Maggiano's in DTC. So check that out online. And it's all about connecting security people to each other and networking and the power of networking. I've noticed more hiring managers pulling from their personal network or through like an ISSA to bring in new talent. I think they want to see that energy and the drive and the soft skills versus how many years you have on your resume. So it's just a great opportunity.
And Carrie, are there, for those that aren't located in Denver, I suspect there's other locations that they can.
Yeah, we're nationally and internationally. We have a Colorado Springs chapter, Denver, and Northern Colorado. And before COVID, we're going to get back to that. We have chapter meetings in Boulder, DTC, and downtown. So it's always very convenient. Our happy hours, we kind of all over the map of Colorado. And then, just check it out online.
And outside of Colorado, are there opportunities within the ISSA since it's national? Yep.
Yeah, all the presidents, we all talk yes, we're all interconnected.
So if somebody is located in Michigan, for example, you can go to the ISSA.org and take a look.
Absolutely. All across. Yep.
Awesome.
And there's a general website, just issa.com. You can become a member, sign up in your area, and every area does the same exact things that we do here in Denver.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie, for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Gina, I think it's over to you for summary.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thanks, ladies. Just so everyone knows that you will receive a follow-up email with the link to our recording. So you don't have to write all this stuff down if you want to come back and reference all these resources later. We also have links here to the career pages if you're interested in checking out job opportunities at any one of our companies here. If anyone has any questions, we just have a couple minutes left, and we'll probably hang around for another 5 more minutes or so. But I also want to mention our next webinar really quick before we go into questions. It will be on April 26th on the topic of cyber insurance. So it should be a really great webinar there. I'll go ahead and share that link in the chat box if anyone on the call is interested. But we did have a question from the audience from Kimberly. So Kim, thanks for your question. She had asked, as a newly graduating student in cybersecurity, what cybersecurity conferences would you recommend for her to attend?
Like Carrie Gunning, that sounds like a good question for you.
To go back to ISSA, that we do host a lot of conferences like Rocky Mountain Security Conference here in Denver. There's one in San Francisco called the RSSA. But I would also suggest just, utilize your network and have them get your resume over to hiring managers, partner with local bars or managed services providers like Newspire, and network. Get out there and just proactively just start meeting people. That's where hiring managers are looking for their people.
I would
Thank
agree
you,
with
Carrie.
that.
Any additions from Carrie Rose or Michelle on that?
I would say watch Vegas's schedule. They've got a lot of security conferences there for a lot of reasons, but there's Black Hat, there's a lot of AWS conferences are really good as everything's moving to the cloud. Those are going to be important, not only from a conference, but from a certification perspective. Making sure you've got some of that stuff. And then it really depends, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of different areas or specialties within security, and each of us kind of has our own. I know there's a risk world that's in Orlando. That would be very important for somebody like me or my team, but maybe not as important for the other roles. So definitely get in touch with those networks, reach out to people on LinkedIn. Conferences are changing all the time. And if you do better in-person conferences versus online versions, then there's also those options, right? There's the virtual versus physical. So I am happy to share the list that I recommend to my team, and I can probably collect some others if you guys really need them. I can always provide those to you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. And our speakers here have shared their LinkedIn information in case anyone has any other questions or wants to reach out and actually speak with them. They're happy to answer questions from our attendees today and have a call with you if you're looking to do that. So I've shared that here. I don't see any other questions. And we are at 3:30 on the button. So we will go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any other questions, you can email us at webinars@newspire.com or contact us through our website. Any closing thoughts from you, Michelle?
No, it was really great at doing this. Carrie Gunning and Carrie Rose, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for inviting us. This was great.
And Gina, thank you for hosting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on behalf of Newspire and our presenters, thank you everyone for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.